Welcome to the Across the Bar podcast, where we talk about why today's headlines are important to you at work. My name is Peter Rahbar. I'm your first call on legal issues.
And I'm Laura Brounstein. I should be your first call on comms and content. Communications and content, I guess I should say. Peter, how are you? How's your holiday season?
It's great. I love the holidays. We're deep in the holidays right now. Coming up on, we're in the middle of Hanukkah.
Yes.
We're coming up on Christmas. It's great. It's great.
I'm wearing one of my favorite holiday themed shirts. This is like a holiday looking plaid.
It's great. Got the right colors there. Mm-hmm. I endorse it.
Trying to get with the season. There are so many things to talk about. I guess first, before anything, let's just acknowledge for a second, I don't want to make it part of Heroes and Zeros. Let's just acknowledge how fucking rough the last week has been for everybody.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess earlier when I said what could be better, there's a lot that could be better. We had the shooting at Bondi Beach.
I was with you in that moment, and then I was like, well, but we should probably acknowledge that. Yes.
So obviously the Hanukkah celebration in Australia, the shooting there, the shooting at Brown, where we actually have so many friends who have kids at Brown, so we were experiencing that, pretty much real time.
Oh God.
And
they were their kids were sheltering in place, etc.
Yeah, it was horrifying. I mean, it was terrible.
Heartbreaking.
And my heart goes out to all the families who had injured kids or lost, or the two families impacted who lost their kids. I mean, it's not what should be happening in our schools, but unfortunately happens all the time in our schools.
Yep. And what happened at Bondi Beach is, as we know, just part of a very scary rise in anti-Semitism. I bought an electric menorah this year that I have in the window because I feel that I should lean into the safety that I have of living in a doorman apartment building in New York City in Greenwich Village to put a pretty, shiny, loudly glowy menorah in my window, because I know a lot of people were scared to put menorahs in their windows right now. So
well, that night on Sunday, first night of Hanukkah here in New York. We were at Alex Edelman's show in Brooklyn, and he did a Hanukkah candle lighting and a tribute to the victims, and it was very powerful to be in a room of mostly Jewish people, thousands congregating peacefully, safely, and laughing despite this scary, as you say, rise of anti-Semitism.
And hopefully giving thanks to the brave Muslim man who saved so many people by taking down the shooter.
For sure. I mean, that guy.
What a hero.
He's a hero.
Yeah.
Hero.
It's nice to see heroes.
Yes.
And then Rob Reiner. Three of my top 10 movies are Rob Reiner. When Harry
Met Sally, and what else? Few Good Men?
American President.
Okay.
And Princess Bride.
Oh, okay. That's a good selection.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay.
What are your favorites of his?
I mean, Few Good Men is probably my favorite one of his. Harry Met Sally, iconic. Katz's Deli, big appearance, obviously. So.
By his mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. R.I.P. Michelle and Rob Reiner and the whole family. Our hearts go out to. And now we are going to provide you with 25 minutes of entertaining advice.
Are we on the clock? I didn't know that.
Well, maybe a little longer, but I'm just saying the rest of this is going to be entertaining and hopefully good advice and not depressing. So, thanks for coming to visit us.
So what are we going to talk about that's not depressing and is entertaining and is good advice?
We are going to talk about the mastery of Christopher Whipple and Christopher Anderson, the writer and photographer. The Christophers, who did one of the best stories in Vanity Fair's history, maybe. One of the most explosive. We're going to talk about Vanity Fair. We're going to talk about AI recruiting wars and what lengths companies are going to get the right talent, ghosting in job interviews, and then my other favorite messy story, the Olivia Newsy, Ryan Lizza, RFK mess.
We tried for so many weeks not to wade into this territory, but here we are.
Yeah. All right, but let's get first to...
Are we talking about hockey romance novels? I thought we were going to talk about that too.
Oh, no? I forgot. You know what? I haven't gone there yet.
Oh,
Over
okay.
the weekend, I will read or watch one of the shows. I don't have anything to say yet. And you know I love a
Okay.
romance.
Okay. Well,
I love a smutty romance, but
I learned yesterday that one of my clients is one of the big, big forces behind the show. What's it called? Heated
cha-ching.
Rivalry? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
cha-ching for her. I hope you got her a good contract.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think I did.
good.
All right.
Okay, so this story is sort of fabulous.
It just keeps giving,
It
is
does.
what
It
I have
just
to
keeps
say.
giving.
Just on so
I
many
mean, those
levels.
close-up pictures, just in case anybody is confused, Susie Wiles,
Yeah.
who ran Trump's run for the White House and is now his chief of staff, first female chief of staff, by the way, has, by all accounts, been doing a great job, according to those in the White House who want President Trump's mission to be enacted. If that is your goal,
Steadying hand, we were
she
told.
has been very successful in that. But then she gave an interview over 11 different visits with this Vanity Fair reporter. And he talked to the rest of the senior cabinet, it seems, and took pictures of many of them. And the story was fascinatingly honest in some ways. What surprised you the most about what it's like to be in the Trump White House from people's stories?
That wasn't the surprise. I mean, nothing about the chaos and the craziness.
Well, it's
and
clear that,
all,
I mean, she
all
kind
of
of made
that.
clear that some things are retribution. She basically said the case
Yeah.
against Tish James was retribution.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not surprising to me. That's the thing that's surprising to me is this group of people who rail on mainstream media all the time and liberal media outlets. You know, not only did Susie Wiles agree to do 11 interviews, but the rest of the group gathered for that photo shoot. I mean, they knew exactly what was happening and they were starved for the attention. I mean, to me, the most surprising thing is like, how much attention do these people need? Like, how deprived are they that they went through with this? They look like clowns. I mean, some of those pictures.
Yeah, but they
were
didn't know.
so.
I will give them credit to say, like, I wonder.
They knew exactly
we're
what they were
having
getting
all of
into.
you take pictures next to an empty chair to show that you were all here at the pleasure of the president, or if they just slipped that in as an Easter egg.
I mean, the picture of like Miller's gut hanging out of his pants. I mean, that's just too good.
All the memes.
It's too good.
He's on the end of the table, so he's the only one who's not reflected. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of memes that are like, well, he had to sit there because he doesn't have a reflection because he is a dude.
And Laura, you know, you're the magazine writer here. You know, let's just a publication like Vanity Fair. Mm-hmm. They're going to be very clear about what they want to write about. They're going to fact check all the quotes, which means they're going to call you and tell you exactly what the quotes are and ask you if they're accurate. So like to come out and say it's a hit job afterwards and you didn't know what it was going to be, like that's just a pile of bullshit. Everybody should understand that, right? I mean, you could attest to that.
Yes, but I want to say, no matter how good you are or think you are at talking to the media, you need to understand that every conversation is another opportunity for you to fuck up, for lack of a better way to say it. Every
100%.
Conversation you have with the media or access they give to you is an opportunity for something to potentially go awry through no one's fault.
Yeah.
So I would never advise a principal that I was working with to do that many interviews for anything that they are not approving themselves.
Yeah.
Someone's writing your book and you have approval, go to town. But otherwise, shh.
Yeah. And you wonder, like, how much of the craziest shit came out in interviews 10 and 11, right? Like, probably veering in that direction. And probably 9 and 10 were the juiciest ones. And 11 was like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will give you...
We're on a journey.
Yeah. And I will give you two angles that
I also would like to know what sandwiches they were eating and all of the... Like, it kept being like they met for lunch over sandwiches. What sandwiches?
Probably something super lame. I will give you two sort of employment law related angles. They're not law, but advice I've given clients, you know, who are in similar situations. So one is like pretty basic. As an executive or an employee, you should always be aware of your company's media policies. Yes. You know, and so it's something very simple. You shouldn't be talking to the New York Times or anybody in most companies unless you have permission from the people. She
clearly did, though.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. Like, there's no way she...
Basically, let's say if the president is the CEO of the company, the chief of staff is like the next best thing.
Yeah, there's no way he didn't know about it, and so that's one. I mean, and if you're just, let's say you're not in the White House in a company, you should know what the policy is. Usually you have to vet things through your comms department, your PR people, your boss, et cetera. You should not just be, giving interviews. The second thing is, and you touched on this, and I've talked to clients, I deal with clients in a lot of public situations or potentially public situations. And one of the things we talk about is like, do we go a legal route? And clients always say, well, let's just, get it out there in the press. Let's call the New York Times, or let's use my contact here, whatever. And this is a good lesson in something I always tell them, which is, yeah, you can make that call and you may be able to select who writes the story, but you can't control what they write.
Once you open the door is open. You have let them into your henhouse.
Right. And especially if you're dealing with the top publications, New York Times, Wall Street Journal,
a new
Vanity
editor,
Fair, New Yorker.
Trying to make his mark at Vanity Fair. I mean, what did they think was going to happen?
Right. Like, clearly the story started under a different editor, but
of course,
then this guy comes in and is like, how can I make it the most explosive thing possible? And boom, the pictures happen.
Did you see the pictures that he took, the same photographer took of Biden and of Obama?
No.
They were just like these, all similarly close up, but just the goodness was pouring out of each one of them. They're beautiful pictures.
So look, if you think you can control a major publication, no matter who you are, you're pretty naive. I think, they're not going to do that,
else.
Even in this day and age.
Be careful who does dermatologic things to your face. Don't go to any med spa. Don't have people injecting things into your face who are not an RN, an MD, or an NP. Seriously. Or a physician's assistant, PA.
Is this a continuation of our discussion of looking hot at work? Is that what
No, this is reflective of some of the things we saw in those pictures.
You didn't like the multiple lip injection points?
I'm just saying, don't let amateurs inject things in your face. It is a bad idea. You will regret it.
Yeah, well, everyone looks stupid, as they should in that article.
There we go.
It's hard to believe they needed more attention, but they got it. And probably not the one.
There's usually one big article on a chief of staff. It's just not usually so glossy. It's usually in the Wall Street Journal or something. You know what I mean? Not like this. And Trump does not like it when people take the shine like that. It's interesting.
He does not. He does not.
Interesting. Okay, AI wars. It is heating up after Sam Altman at ChatGPT put out a code red that they were starting to have their heels nipped at by Gemini and others. The bidding war kind of has started again. For a while, it was Zuck at Facebook, Meta, wanting to pay people exorbitant amounts, and now Sam Altman is getting rid of the vesting cliff completely.
Yeah,
Talk about this. This is kind of insane.
Right. So this week it was reported that OpenAI, as part of its attempts to get better at recruiting, has eliminated the vesting cliff. And for people who don't know what that is, if part of your compensation is equity in the company, so shares in the company, typically that comes with something called a cliff, which is essentially like a test period to make sure that you're going to stay with the company before they give you a piece of it. And typically the cliff is a year in most cases. Now, a lot of tech companies...
where it was 3 years and I left after a year and a half with no money.
Right. We didn't like that. 3 years would be extraordinary to have. The company would be getting a lot of value, and you would not in that period. But 1 year is fairly typical. Now, about a year...
1 year for 25%. It's the vesting starts usually.
Right. And then it continues.
It's usually not 100% at a year. So that's why this move is even...
Right. So now they've eliminated the cliff, which means you vest on day one. Day one, you're...
So if you work at this company for 6 months, you could leave with a huge stock windfall.
Well, you get 6 months worth of vesting, whatever that's worth. And now they've done several rounds. The valuation's pretty high, so who knows what it's worth. And so there's I think two things they're combating with this. One is obviously the recruiting race is red hot. Facebook, Meta has been doing huge payouts. Google is quietly amassing talent, and they have a huge, pool of cash to recruit with. And OpenAI is the more, it's obviously raised a lot of money. It's burning a lot of money, and it's falling a little bit behind in the public debate about, who's winning AI. So here they are taking another step to try and bolster their troops and get people on board. So, we'll see if it works. But it is significant. Maybe other companies follow suit, and that's good for employees, obviously.
Very good for employees.
So we're happy about
but
that.
I will be
we want people to get paid.
To see if this leaves the AI sphere. Like, at the same time that's happening, we're also seeing articles about all the layoffs, and the office workers are clinging to their jobs right now because they're afraid there are not going to be more jobs out there. So it's a very uneven job market at the moment.
Yeah. I don't think it will go beyond the AI sphere. I mean, it may go to, tech, some parts of tech, but generally, I don't think it'll go beyond, because as we know through all the economic reporting recently, like, there's an AI economy that's on fire, and then there's the rest, which is not on fire. So
if the AI stocks, the top 6, suddenly all busted, would the entire, would we have a crash?
I mean, there's been a lot of debate about that. And in this past week, we've seen a huge drop actually in AI related stocks. Now, it could just be people taking profits at the end of the year, and we'll see what happens because the fundamental numbers have not changed in these businesses. But yeah, some people think there would be an economic impact. And also, without getting too far into it, the basic point is a lot of these companies they're sort of funding each other. So if one of them fails, like in NVIDIA, it could have a chain
very overlapping
reaction. Yeah, that would not be good. Mm-hmm. But I don't expect this trend to expand. I do hope hiring picks up in the next few months, but all indicators are that that's probably not happening just yet because the economic outlook is still too murky.
There is another trend that we wanted to talk about that is gross, that is related to this. People ghosting on job interviews. Like the company interviewing you and then just never hearing from them again because they are so swamped with the number of applicants. That is terrible. That is the worst PR you can do for your company, to not treat applicants well. That gets out there.
And I don't think it's just because they're swamped. I think a lot of them just feel like they have the upper hand. They don't have to do it. And in particular with entry-level jobs, I see it a lot with college kids applying for jobs, young kids applying for jobs. They just don't get responses, or interns. Like, what kind of message are you sending that you can't even formulate, like an auto reply or a standard reply that you send out to everyone who applied, but you're not selecting?
It is such a big aspect of how you are marketing your brand to the world, how you treat people who apply. Really, be lovely to them. Make sure they had a good experience. Create an automated practice that is kind and respectful, so it doesn't take time from anybody's day, but people are treated the way they should be. Because I have definitely been places where hiring good people in the field became almost impossible because of the reputation the company had gotten as a crappy employer. So
yeah, I've dealt with the issue, and I've worked with companies who've said to me they have problems hiring people because for instance, their recruiting and their onboarding practices
are so bad.
So bad that they've been criticized on Glassdoor. And by the way, like, if you're bad to an applicant, you're not courteous, they can go, they have no attachment to you. They
There's no NDA.
You on Glassdoor. Yeah, exactly. So when I advise companies on this, we always talk about like being very thorough in your hiring practice, which includes, reaching out to people you're not selecting, and then working really hard once you've hired the person to onboard them properly. And show them the respect when they come on.
And all of these things can be automated now, especially with AI. So there is no excuse.
Right.
Using AI to craft an onboarding package is a really smart way to save time and put together something that looks good.
Or, maybe hire back some of those HR people you fired.
There you go.
Because you actually need them.
Or hire a legal and comms consultant who can tell you what it should look like.
Yeah, but this really frustrates me the most with young people. I mean, people applying for internships or first jobs, and they just get such a bad impression, and they take it particularly hard when they don't hear back. And in fact, one other story I saw related to this just before we came on air is that the Mamdani administration has received 74,000 resumes for open positions. And the average age, I think, of applicants was somewhere between 25 and 28, and not only reflects, their enthusiasm for him, but also
people need jobs.
People need jobs at those ages.
Also, good on all those people for wanting to work for their city government. I applaud every single person that sent in an application wanting to put their efforts and time into making our city even better than it already is.
Right. And I'll tell you, just to expand on this, to go beyond, interviews and how you treat people in interviews. I saw the head of, personnel management for the federal government on Squawk Box the other day, and he was talking about a new program they're launching to attract recent college graduates. And, all I could think about, and I was hoping he would be asked the question of, don't you think young people look at how you treated government workers over the past year? How quickly you fired them and how disgracefully you fired them and said,
and people who have given their life in service to our country.
Yeah, I mean, to not even...
laughed at by an idiot on a stage with a chainsaw.
Right. And now you're begging people to come work for you. Now, that's, to me, you got to do a little better than that. A lot better.
And yet, I encourage anybody who has the opportunity to work for something civic-minded at some point to do it.
Yes.
All right. Do we want to get into the Newsy and Lisa?
You wanted to get into it, so get into it. And you didn't want to talk about the hockey stuff.
I'll make it No hockey. Hockey next week. Okay. I will make it my hero. How fun it has been to read this absurd story about Olivia.
Why don't you tell people what it is?
Olivia Newsy was a hot up-and-coming reporter for New York Magazine when she interviewed RFK for the magazine, and they seem to have fallen in love and begun a not physical relationship that it seemed to involve many declarations of love and who knows what else.
I mean, we know what else. We heard about some of the what else.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend, Ryan Lizza, her fiance at the time, Ryan Lizza, who had, in his own right, been let go from New Yorker magazine about 10 years ago in a Me Too kind of unclear moment. Yeah. He was a reporter for Politico when New York Magazine was alerted by none other than Kara Swisher that Olivia was having an affair with RFK of some kind while doing journalism for New York Magazine, and while Lizza was doing journalism for Politico. They both proceeded to lose their jobs. Now, Newsy's written a book. Lizza has a Substack or a newsletter called Tilos, where he's spilling the tea once a week or so. He's had 7 come out, I think. And each week, it's like a little drip of terrible things Olivia did to him and others, and to the profession of journalism, while on staff as a political reporter at a news magazine, was giving aid to RFK.
Yes.
Her book, by all accounts, is terrible. Has sold, but last I heard, less than 2,000 copies.
Yeah,
despite
pretty staggering sales numbers.
Getting so much press. And she keeps doing these really awkward radio interviews. She did one with Tim Miller of The Bulwark about a week ago, and his face during it was like this.
Yeah. It's a bizarre cast of characters, for sure.
Yeah. And somehow, the people taking most of the heat are Olivia Newsy, as she should, because that goes against all journalistic ethics. But somehow, that man, that HHS secretary, RFK, Bobby, is really not getting any of the heat for it. So I guess this story is both my hero and my zero, because I enjoy reading about it because it's dishy and I am superficial. But also, again, it's a zero because the women are getting most of the castigation and nobody really seems to be bothering this very tan, frightening man who is our Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Would you say he has like a
rate of measles going up in this country? Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Would you say he has a frog voice, or would you use a different
I
term
think it's
to
a medical
describe it?
thing. So I think it sounds like a garbage disposal, but I think it's a
Oh,
medical
that's
thing.
a good
So I
one.
feel bad when I make fun of it.
Right.
I mean, I do anyway sometimes, but I feel bad.
And what did you think of him doing the pull-ups in the airport? Were you into that?
I think he is the most reprehensible reptilian human I have had the misfortune to have to listen to. I think he is all the bad things. I think he is opportunistic. I think he is saying stupid shit that is causing children to die. I think
Yeah.
he is a bad, bad man.
Wow. Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the journalism ethics question is really interesting in this. I have some journalism friends and clients who are like, well, how much ethics really exists in the industry anymore, especially with some of those characters. But I mean, it's pretty clear, giving up sources.
Still exist in journalism, or they should. Yeah. And the journalism that I see my friends practice is really ethical. I grew up in journalism, as you know, as did you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people working really hard to do really, really, really good work right now. This sucks.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it smears the industry, certainly, even though these are just a handful of people amongst hundreds who practice the craft. But, I certainly think there are many ethical issues that were raised by this story,
Yes.
and it's really unfortunate, and yeah, she's paying the price. I mean, she made some bad decisions. She should pay the price for it. What Kennedy did. I mean, his wife isn't even leaving him for it. So I don't know. Like, how do you?
They both seem great.
Explain that one.
Yeah, everybody seems to have an agenda that is not the best interest of the American people. So
right.
Best of luck to us.
Definitely not in that crew. They're not thinking about the American people.
All right, now you.
I just want to say, of all the things she said, the one I really don't believe is that she wrote the book on her phone while she was hiking. That just seems like a pile of bullshit to me.
It kind of read like that. I think that.
I don't know.
Kids do shit on their phones that I would not do.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think it's a lie.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
All right.
Hero to zero.
Okay, so I go back to back here then.
Go back to back. I changed things up. I went rogue.
Okay. Which one should I start with? Heroes or zeros now?
Zero.
I'm so confused.
I mean, always start with the zero. Oh, we want to end with the hero.
All right, so I would say my zero, unfortunately, going back to this Rob Reiner story, the president's comments about it. Yeah. And then I would say relatedly, the thing he did with the plaques yesterday, trashing former presidents. I mean, classless is probably the kindest description of it. I mean, I would hope, I've always, you'd want some decency from your public officials, and just the lack of decency regarding private citizens is appalling. Especially, in a family murder situation. It's just tragic, no matter what you think of him. So I was really disgusted by it.
Do parents still tell their children, be kind to others?
Yes.
Don't make fun of those who have gone before you. Like, do parents still teach their kids that kind of values that I think we were taught?
There is hope. Okay. There is hope. I don't think that was talked about a lot in the Queen's household of the president back in the day. I mean,
maybe not.
But
it was how to be a slumlord 101.
It's just so disgusting.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry. My hero, on a lighter note, my New York Knicks winning their first title of any sort.
There's a lot of happiness in my home as well.
In my lifetime. It's just so funny. But a good moment, bringing people together in New York to have a laugh and
were you watching like random people doing, I guess, what's a podcast, or people call, like, when the Knicks do well or do terribly, I am subjected to listening to this analysis online.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks are very social.
What?
I mean, I'm sure you saw the Timothée Chalamet videos. I mean, there's
well, that was cute. That they all called each other. All the famous people are on like a text together. That's cute.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Stiller, Chalamet.
I love it.
Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Carl Anthony Towns. It's very funny. But yeah, there's always a ton of...
Love it.
There's a huge Knicks social media presence. If they win the actual NBA title, I'm not quite sure what would happen in this city.
Will be flying, I think, out the window.
There will be a level of aggressiveness that we haven't seen here in a long time. So
yeah.
So,
that would be nice.
But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
Well, we have a little announcement also, right? Before we go, we're about to sign off here, but we're going to record a special holiday episode on consulting and like starting your own business and some tips.
Solopreneurship 101.
Yeah, starting your own business.
So send us any questions.
So if you have any questions, suggestions on topics we should cover, I've already gotten a bunch, but we'll take and address anything you have to send to us. And
Merry
with
Christmas,
that,
Peter.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
Thanks.
And happy Hanukkah and
thanks. You too.
Whatever people are celebrating, enjoy it.
Yes.
And
enjoy. And I hope everyone gets some time to be cozy, whatever that means to you in the next week or two. And thank you, Sadie.
Yeah, thank you, Sadie. And thanks for listening and watching Across the Bar podcast. Please subscribe, share, post, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you. Bye.
All right.